Hi guys, welcome to my series that I've been mentioning on Facebook and Instagram. I'm happy to share my first interview in this series. My name is Jennifer Don Gaviola, and I got this divine nudge to share this series to honor May, which is AAPI Heritage Month, and it's to celebrate Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. And I felt moved to connect with certain friends of mine and also share like my roots and where I come from, my background, and really share how I feel that as Asian Americans, we so much of our culture has shaped us, and that has really created such a powerful and impactful impact on the American culture. So I wanted to bring on my friend here and talk about like her contribution to the American culture, like through her business, and you'll meet her in a moment. But I just wanted to say thank you for joining me on this series, because it just means a lot to share more deeper parts of my history and background, and the same for other Asian Americans, because I mean we've contributed a lot. I just feel like that deserves to be celebrated. Okay, so without further ado, this is my good friend Stacy, and I'm going to have her introduce herself and more of her business. But I resonate with her for so many reasons. Style, one of them. I'm wearing one of her earrings, and what's wild is like we didn't plan this, but I'm wearing the small version of her earrings, and she's wearing the large. Wild, right? We didn't plan that. So, Stacey, do you want to share more about yourself and your business?
Sure. My name is Stacy, and I created the brand Mas Nobu, and I make these lenticular origami earrings that I'm wearing now. So if you can see, the image changes at different perspectives. So I often use the phrase change perspectives because you might see something different. So this is just another version of that. So it's just, this one has a subtle change. I also have earrings that have two different words on it. So one angle it says one word, the other angle is another word. So just these pieces are really a form of self-expression.
I have
And
one.
oh, yes. So
This is
this
the I am. She made a custom pair for me in my I am poem, and it's like on there right here. It's pretty.
yes, yes. This
Exquisite. So yeah,
is a
see,
really
awesome.
special piece that I made for Jen. So the I am switches between ivory and black as you look at it from different perspectives. And so these earrings are very much based in my Japanese heritage. Um, I use the traditional method of origami to create the lenticular effect. The artwork itself, it stems from my own sense of humor, the art that I've always been exposed to, just growing up here, being an American. And it's something that I feel is a visual representation of being Japanese American. And so, especially when like other people who aren't Japanese uh, kind of like welcome these pieces into their jewelry box of self-expression.
Mm.
I always feel like it's I don't know. It's almost, to me, it's almost kind of like a little small part of the bridge of people welcoming another culture into their life. And
Yes.
so, and I think, especially these days, or really any day, I think it's such an important connection. Very small, but I just think of them as these earrings kind of accompany people on their journey. The people that do wear them, they do have, I've discovered they're usually like very unique. This is Jen, really, like very unique, very deep feeling people who are very just welcoming of and very open-minded of like other cultures and other types of people. So
Mm.
yeah, and Mas Nobu, those are the names of my grandmothers. So I named them after my grandmothers, and I'm sure we'll get into that later. But that's, in a nutshell, that's basically that's what I do.
I love that you said it's. Did you say it's like a bridge, like making a connection?
Yes, yes,
People?
yes. So these are interactive earrings.
Hmm.
When you wear them, I mean, Jen will probably be able to vouch for this, but people will like come up and talk to you. I kind of call them the coffee table book of earrings because they're the conversation starters. So
Uh-huh.
for people, especially like Jen and I, like who are a bit on the introverted
Introverts,
side,
yes, yes.
this is like it's
The,
great because
the perfect networking tool.
yeah, like you don't have to like create some awkward conversation. It usually it have what I have found with these earrings is that it happens naturally because people will just talk to you. They'll be like, "Hey, what about the earrings? I love them," and
Right,
the
right.
conversation goes from there.
Yeah.
So they're really I do see them as like this form of like a little bridge. And whether that bridge is for just like meeting someone new or for connecting between different cultures or whatever, like that's yeah, it's just a small part of like building that bridge.
I love that metaphor. And especially as an introvert, it's like I always talk about how, as an introvert, you can be quiet and fierce, but this fierceness and this like presence, you don't want to like force yourself to do something that feels unnatural, right? But if
Yeah.
you're wearing something, that really resonates with your spirit, with your soul, people can feel that. Like you start to feel yourself, and then other people feel you. So it's all energetic, and energy, as you know, does not lie. So you just have a common ground, I find. Like when you feel someone, you don't even have to speak. You just feel their energy. You're like, something about this person, I feel like we would have a lot in common. Like there would be common ground,
Yeah, no,
right?
it's really like you could have never met someone before, but there is something with fashion. I mean, that's one of the reasons I think
Yes.
why I am so into fashion and why I have really just completely made this art form a huge part of my life is because it has helped me just form that connection with other people. Like Jen and I actually, that's how we formed our friendship and how we developed
Hmm.
our friendship. And it was just through online because she was posting about these like awesome deals that she finds and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
I love vintage.
She loves vintage. She gets crazy shit.
Bargains, $5.
Yeah, it's insane. But yeah, so that's really it for myself. It has been a source of confidence and a way to connect with others because you see someone, especially if you're wearing stuff that not everyone loves and not everyone thinks they can pull off, like you will attract the same like-minded people. So
You will.
it's really cool just when that happens. It's really cool. It's really nice.
Yeah. And it feels organic and natural,
Yeah.
because again,
Mhm.
you just sense like, I really, I love what she's wearing. And it just comes from this like good feeling. So of
Yeah.
course, as you get to know the person, it's just like you break down walls and you're just like, oh yeah, like I feel you, and I feel like when you get to that point of like feeling someone, it's like a huge barrier where you can actually connect on a way deeper level
Yeah.
than just saying certain things to try to like connect with people. Because to me, it all comes down to like feeling. If I feel like you're being sincere and true, and I feel your style or your presence overall, I just know we'll connect well.
Yeah, it's definitely it's that unspokenness.
Yes.
Like, oh, I don't know why, but I feel like we have a connection or something. But yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, so let's get started. So
Mhm.
you touched on it, but can you go deeper into like your roots in your Japanese culture and how that's made a really significant impact on your business?
Yeah, it was an unconscious, subconscious, not a subconscious thing, right? So I just make things. That's just what I do. I'm a creative person, and I just love making things, especially for other people. So for really all my life, but for I would say the past like 8 years or so, I just have been really making things and selling them or giving them as gifts. And I noticed they were all like Japanese American oriented. And it's just it's something that came so naturally to me. And these earrings, they were just an idea that I had. And it just, it's not like I was trying to think of something that was Japanese American, but this
Right.
is because it's like so rooted in my of who I am. Like that's just what came out of me were these earrings, right? So I mean, yeah, so it's origami, but it's obviously not a traditional piece of artwork. So that's what makes it Japanese American. And I wanted to create under my grandmother's name's Mas Nobu because they were just these really tenacious and strong women who went through so much in their lives. And it's this is my and I really feel like they built this foundation um, that has allowed me to freely create. And they themselves, so Moss was an entrepreneur. She owned her own barber shop in LA. She went to school for, she didn't know English when she came here. So she went to school for English and Spanish and started her own barber shop. Nobu was a seamstress, fashionista. I'm pretty sure that's where I get all that from. But they were these two women who tried to achieve their passions as best as they could. But of course, they were living in a time when society just kept them in this box. So they really had to fight for what they wanted. And I'm sure they had so many goals that they could never achieve. So I feel like they have, I basically am springing off this foundation that they have built. So that's why I named my brand Masa Nobu. The other part of that is, growing up being, and I don't know, Jen, you could probably appreciate this, but growing up Japanese American, I really did not know what that meant, and it took a really long time to know because I was like, I don't speak Japanese.
Right.
I've only been to Japan once. I don't have family there that I know of
Yeah.
at least.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, when I even remember this kid back in college, he was like, well, why, like, what makes you so, like, what makes you Japanese? And I was like, dude, I don't know, but it's just one of those things. It's like, it's, you are treated as other, right? You're treated as different. So that you're different in America, but you're like, but why? Because I'm the most American
Right.
person, and I'm just like so American. So it took me a long time to really understand that. And I'll tell you this, like, I even went to Japan, and when I went to Japan, the Japanese people there were like, no, you're not Japanese. And I was like, well, where do I belong? I'm like,
Right. No, I understand
who
that.
am I? Yeah, so it was really interesting. So it took many years, and then finally I was like, I realized, I was like, oh, okay, I am not Japanese. I am not. And I was like, and I am not white. I am not a white American. I was like, I am Japanese American. And with that comes a really rich and interesting story. And it's a story that it runs really deep in American history as well. So my family, they were incarcerated during World War II in the Japanese incarceration camps. And that in itself, I mean, if you can imagine, my grandmother was pregnant with my mom at the time, actually. And so when she was first placed into the camp, she was pregnant. And she was placed at, her and her family were placed at a horse race track in California, Southern California. And that's where my mom was born. So for my mom, her first home was a horse stable, and her first bed was a pile of hay.
Wow.
And if you can only imagine, my grandmother was not allowed to go to a hospital to give birth. She had to give birth at the horse race track. So they made a makeshift hospital that was, obviously not up to standards, but that's where she had to be. After my mom was born, my grandmother wasn't eating enough nutritious foods because the American government was not providing nutritious foods. So she had a lot of trouble breastfeeding. For the most part, she couldn't breastfeed at all. So if you can imagine, that's just one story that is often not told Actually, it is not told in American history books, but that's just one story amongst hundreds, thousands of other Japanese Americans that were just, their lives were stolen from them. The government stole everything they had and then put them in the desert in these imprisonments where they had to live with other families. Like, it was just not a way of life that you would ever want for yourself. So so much of that is why I'm Japanese American, because even though it's not something I talk about every day, but it's affected me so much that it and it's so deep rooted in me that I don't have to concentrate or focus on it, but it just comes through in everything that I make. So that's why I do what I do. One of my hopes and my goals is this is my part in this movement of telling Asian American stories, and of especially highlighting the Japanese internment camps, because this is a part of American history that has been erased, has actually been erased from history books. And it's very important, especially now, because the people need to know that these atrocities that the American government is committing now, and has been for hundreds of years, is not new, and it needs to be, and this is just, the Japanese internment camps are really just more evidence of that. So
Oh, thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that about your story.
oh yes, there's
Yeah.
all kinds of,
Yes.
it runs deep, it runs deep.
Yeah, of course. Like I totally relate to what you were saying about like coming to America and you know you're Asian. Like I know I'm Filipino, but I wasn't taught how to speak Tagalog. I could understand, but always felt like, well, am I American or Filipino
Mm-hmm.
or but it is when you can identify with both, you understand that um, there's beauty in finding an identity within both. Um, but within even that duality, still finding your voice, right? Because there's still a lot of
Yes.
um, stereotypes and old patterning in what it means to be Asian, and also just being in America. There's just so many pressures to be a workhorse, to really just work, and then you end up valuing yourself based on your productivity, you being successful, you making money.
Yeah.
So I just feel like I feel deep in my spirit. I think that's why God was nudging me to have these conversations and really create a platform to talk about like our roots, because I, like, as a Asian American, as a Pacific Islander, the sense of resiliency. I feel like being Asian is just like, for those of you that are not Asian, we have this unspoken standard that we have to live up to, right? This high level of excellence that you always have to live up to, right? Being lazy is really death. Like you just don't want to be associated with being lazy, right? So trying to unravel that um, perception that, oh, I have worth outside of what I do, that is really when you really take your power back, right? When you
Mm-hmm.
find that beautiful middle ground between your roots, your Asian culture, and what it means to be American. And that's why I really love what you're doing, Stacey, is because you're finding your voice within that duality, right? You're not only sticking to, well, I'm Asian, so I need to act this way, right? I have to, always be perfect and perform a certain way and be quiet and not stand out too much, which leads me to my next question. But also being American too, it's like, well, am I just trying to like be this model minority, right? So I'm accepted, within this culture. But as you know, when you accept yourself, for who you are outside of how you're being perceived, that's when you actually become magnetic, because people are like, it's that liberation, that freedom on the inside of like, I know who I am. I know who God created me to be. I don't fit in a box. Yes, I'm Asian. Yes, I'm American. But even with that, I'm still beyond that, right? So it's like having the courage to, I admire you so much for building this business, for using your roots to create this artistry, right? And I really, really love that metaphor of what you said about this bridge that you're creating, because to me, when I think about you and your brand, it's like the legacy I see you building is this, you're taking a stand and saying, you know what, as an Asian woman especially, look at me. I'm taking up space. Look at me. I'm making a statement. I'm not being loud, but I can be bold in my own way. And you know, we're not taught that. We're taught to just keep our head down and work, and don't question authority. This is, especially as a female Asian, I mean, you just kind of fit in your little corner and do the work, right? And that's it. But I feel like to step out, that to me is like, I feel very strongly that your ancestors, especially your grandmothers, are always cheering you on, because you have used like their energy, their momentum, and using that energy to like continue this legacy, which is very important. It's not just earrings, like you said. It's like you're building bridges and connections with people, right? Especially during this time of division. It's so important. Do you want to expand on that? Because my next question was, what sort of legacy do you want to leave behind, like with your business?
I mean, I'm glad you brought this up because, you know, I think you're right that, I mean, whether you believe in, you know, like spirits or the stars or the universe or whatever, you know, but I will say this, like, I do believe that the voice of my grandmothers has been shouting for so long. Since the day that they were born, they have been fighting against racism, against the patriarchy, against all these things that are working against them, and they are still shouting. And I am hearing that because their story has not been told.
Right.
It has not been told in history books. It has not been told by even, you know, within my family. You know, the every single thing that these women had to go through, just to achieve their level or point of happiness. You know, they were fighting and shouting for so long, and so I feel like I feel fortunate because my ears are open and I've been hearing that, and that's why I think when I create these, that's why, you know, these earrings come into play. That's why these are created, because I am hearing their voice. I'm hearing their story that has not been told, and this is my way of pushing that story out. So it's, you know, yes, I make earrings, but really, like, to me, they mean more than that. You know, they are a visual representation of being Japanese American. They are a continuation of the artistry and the passion and the love of my grandmothers, right? And for people who wear them, who purchase them, I really hope that for them, that it maybe reminds them of where they come from as well.
Yes.
And maybe it'll push them to dig deeper into their own family history. I'm very lucky because I have a lot of information within my family tree, about my family tree. So my hope is always, like, if anyone has access to that family history, like, you have to dig into it and just like find out those stories, because number one, once they're gone, they're gone. But number two, it's interesting because you will find yourself within these stories. Like, you're like, oh, I have like already existed, you know, within your family timeline. You're like, I have already existed, because no matter who you are on this earth, if you are living on this earth right now, you are the legacy of someone else. You are like the hopes and dreams of someone else, right? So that was something that was really unexpected for me when as I find out more about my own family history, and especially like my grandmother's. I'm like, wow, my story has been told, and my personality has already existed, and it's just that they were working against all these societal constraints that I no longer have, which is why I can do what I do.
Right.
But that is so, I think unintentionally, that is a legacy that I am continuing on their behalf, and also continuing for myself. You know, these earrings are, when I say connection and bridge, like I really mean it. Like I I think for people that wear them, it's a connection with others, but it's also connection with themselves.
Yes.
And I think that's really, you know, because I've had I mean, the women that, and the, well, whoever, men, women, every sort of like sex, gender, whatever wears them, all these people, they'll email me and they'll say like, you know, these earrings are a reminder of like my confidence, you know, because especially I think, um I mean, everyone in this world has their insecurities. So these earrings I've learned have served for people. It's like that if they're feeling like shitty or whatever for like a day, if they put the earrings on, it just brings them up a little, just to like get them through the day. So you know, yes, they're just earrings, and yes, they're just things that I make, but this is what my hope for these earrings when people wear them, that it's a connection to others, it's a connection within themselves. And for me, I just really appreciate, and it's just really nice to know that these earrings accompany people in their journey, in that journey of like connecting with others and connecting with themselves. So
So beautiful. Oh, I love how this conversation is just flowing, because you and I have always resonated with this, always been drawn to style, right? It's just like, you know,
yeah.
when you see something, you're like, oh yes, it just brings, like, you feel like so much life come through you. But I just feel like talking about legacy, when we feel something, like I felt like I could feel your energy, your spirit, your grandmother's spirit, because there's such a level of uh, meticulous, detail oriented, like high level. I mean, it's,
Thank you.
for those of you, like, I'm going to share, Stacy will share her contact information, you know, if you're interested in her earrings. But what drew me to your earrings initially was such a high level of excellence, like the artistry. It's so exquisite. And again, like that feeling, I resonated with you, and like your history and your essence, but it also connected with me and my essence. That's why I always talk about how style is this sacred practice to connect with your spirit and express yourself from the inside out. It's, and again, like, living in the time that we're in, it's so critical that we remain centered and grounded in who we are, and not get taken away or from all the noise, because how we really make an impact is by staying grounded and centered in our truth, right? And art is, everyone resonates with art, everyone, even if you don't get like some certain art. But whatever your art is, your artistry, it's like, give yourself permission to express that, regardless if you're Asian or whatever race you are. It's like, you're meant to express yourself. Like, your sacred expression is like, to me, it's really an act of service, right? It's not just, hi, I look cute today. Yes, you look cute. But really, really, on a deeper level, it's like, when you are feeling yourself, there's a level of truth that people can feel. It's undeniable. And that helps liberate. They don't have to say it, but they, in their spirit, they can feel a sense of liberation within you, but within also themselves. Like, oh,
It's like,
I see you.
yes.
I see you.
Yeah. And
You
I
know?
think, especially as women in America, right? So I think that I mean, it's you know, this woman's liberation and stuff, it's kind of new, right? Because we've been told to like stay in the kitchen for so long, and that's kind
Yeah.
of like the American classic story,
Right.
like a woman's in the kitchen and quiet and all that, and just
Right.
agreeable and stuff, and that's just not who we really are,
No.
because we're just human. So whoa, I forgot where I was going with that.
Well, we were talking about, we can see each other.
Oh yes, 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 yes. So so I did have like a little note. So I wanted to say like because of that, because I think there's this whole history of women kind of being silenced, right? Or not
Yes, yes, yes.
being,
Silence. It is silence. Yep.
so when we see, or at least for myself, I think for you too, like when I see a woman who's being bold and I love their style, I'll go up to them and be like, oh, I love your outfit
Yeah.
or whatever. But what I'm really saying is like, I love how you are stepping into yourself and you are not afraid to just to wear whatever the fuck
Yes.
you want to wear. You know,
Yes.
it's like, yes, it's a compliment about your clothes, but really what I'm saying is like, I love your spirit. I love
Yes.
like what
Yes.
comes through for you. So
Yes.
it's, and I think for women, we know that subconsciously, right? And
Right.
that's why it's like, it's, I always feel like it's kind of like a secret little wink card that you,
Yes.
whenever you
Yes.
like compliment a woman, it's always
Yes.
like,
I
thank
see
you,
you.
because
Yes.
there's so much
Yes.
history about why we even are motivated to just to compliment a woman that you don't know.
Yes. I agree. Oh my gosh. Like that's why I was talking about, beauty. People think of beauty as being like some sort of luxurious or luxury or like superficial sort of thing. But
Oh yeah,
when you adorn yourself with beauty, that to me, honestly, is a um, low key active resistance. Okay,
it
because
is. Yeah,
you're just like, you know what, I'm taking up my space, and
mm,
me taking up my space is not taking up anyone else's space, but I'm going to take up my space fully, right?
yeah,
And that's why I feel like, especially as an Asian, do you know how radical and revolutionary it is to be a bold uh Asian, to have a voice? And that's why I feel like why God put this like mission in my heart to like talk about, you can be quiet and fierce. Quiet meaning honor the
yeah,
fact that as introvert you have natural strength and you do need regular quiet time. It's how you recharge your energy, and there's nothing wrong with that, nothing to be ashamed of, right? But the fierceness is like, it's not from the ego. It's like your spirit is fierce. It's just, you have to just give yourself permission to actually let it come through you
yeah.
in really natural ways. And for both of us, it's like style is just like this, like we talked about on another video before, it's like the secret weapon, right? It's just like, hey, I am here, and I don't have to be super loud or do a song and dance. It's like, I'm here and I know you see me and I know you feel me, and the
Yeah,
right people they gravitate to you like a magnet, you know?
absolutely. It's to me, fashion for me has been the easiest form of art for myself and of self-expression.
Yes.
And I whenever someone compliments me on an outfit, I'm always like, thank you. I put a lot of effort and work into this look, so thank you. And I always
Yeah.
tell people that because I don't want people to think that I'm just like, I just put something on and it took 1 second and it looks good. I'm like, no, dude, I really thought this through.
Yes.
So yeah, it's definitely I think fashion is it's gotten a bad rap, but honestly, it's one of the easiest forms of self-expression that anyone can do. And it's so
Yes.
accessible too, so.
Yes. Easy, accessible, and I feel like impactful, because again, you're not, when you like really give yourself permission to express yourself, it's not by force. It's like,
Oh,
it's just in your being. It's just like,
I'm
I'm
like,
here.
yeah, when I see, I'm like, oh, whenever, if I see someone wearing something that I love, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, what is happening? This is amazing.
Yeah,
Like, it's
I
really,
know.
and I know it's not that way for everyone, but for like you and I, it's like, it really becomes a moment. You're like,
It
holy,
is.
this is
It
amazing what you're doing.
It is. Let me tell you, like that. There's the video that I shared, that it was like a really like a 10-second video of me in that rainbow caftan.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So
Actually, anyways, go on. I was going to comment on that. I was like, I love this.
what's funny is like, it was last week I did it, and I knew I wanted to like, that caftan I had for like, I don't know, 5 years. It's just, I've had it a long time, right? So I was just like, I got this nudge like, do a video with it. But last week I had a busy week and I was kind of tired, and I was like, should I do it? But I knew it was gonna rain this week, so I was like,
Hmm.
I don't know. But my sweetheart was like, you should do it today. I'm like, okay. So put it on. We went outside our house. And I just was like, I was like, you ready? And he recorded on my phone. I was like, yeah. Once he said go, I was just like, I turned it on. It's just like something just comes through me. When I'm in front of the camera, I'm telling you, this is like a spiritual experience. I'm like, something comes through me, and I'm just like, no one can tell me nothing, okay? And I'm just like, here it is, you know? And that audio was so funny. But I was just like, okay, I just feel like it's so empowering to just not worry about what other people think of you. And I feel like style is it's always been like this like secret weapon, this way of being unapologetic for your presence. You know what I mean? Like I am here, motherfuckers. I am here. You know?
That's true. Yeah, it really is. And I think for myself, like it is a secret weapon for me because throughout my life, I was just so insecure about, I mean, you know, like just like every woman, just so insecure about so many things. And then fashion, I actually discovered my love for fashion and what fashion can do when I lived in New York for a number of years. And I remember just being like, oh, this is amazing. And it really is. And you know, it's that secret weapon because we as women are so not confident about so many things physically, right? And visually, that having that power of like, you know what, actually I have, just being able to say, whether whoever believes in it or not, whatever, who cares, right? But it's like having that whatever it is inside you to be like, I am really good at this.
Yes.
And I love putting things together, and to have that confidence, it really is like a secret weapon because it's true. Like I could be wearing stuff that majority of people hate, which trust me, I have walked into a room and people will just talk shit about you. And I still am like, God, but I don't give a shit. Like
Yeah. I know I look good.
I was like, I know I look good. Like I'm like, these people have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You're preaching to the choir, I know. So thank you so much for I love this conversation so much. I knew it would like flow beautifully as usual. So would you like to share how people can connect with you?
Yeah, sure. So my website is Mas and Nobu. So it's MAS and NOBU.com. You can also find me on Instagram, the Grams. I'm at Mas and Nobu. You can email me at hello@masandnobu. Say hello. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's about it. Yeah.
I'll put your website in the
Oh, thanks.
comments
Okay.
Yeah. So is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Just thank you so much, Jen, for having me on. I don't know, we do these things and it's when you ask me, like I didn't even really think about it until today because I just feel so comfortable with you. Like Jen has this very she's really good at just getting to the deep side of things. And I just love that about you. And it just, I don't know, there's something to say about like doing these sort of videos and just not even feeling like I didn't feel nervous about it at all. I was like,
good.
oh yeah, I was like, it's Jen. It's cool.
Good. Oh, that makes me happy.
I really, and I just like, I thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. I can't wait to share this. I mean, really, there's so much richness in this conversation. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll be sharing more videos. And if you want to connect with me, you can find me at dawningsoul.com or also on Instagram at dawningsoul and Facebook. Well, you can also find me on Facebook for Jennifer Gaviola. So thanks, guys. I really, really hope that this video and this series really helps bring more light to your roots, regardless if you're Asian. I hope that we raise some more awareness of what it is to be Asian in America, but really allow yourself to dig deeper in your own heritage, your own roots, you know, because that will only strengthen like your own identity as you're evolving and knowing more about who you are outside of who other people want you to be. It's really important that you allow yourself to remember who you are outside of all these things that people try to project on you. So, okay, bye. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.